Ryan Poles talks about the plan that Ben Johnson has for Caleb Williams. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, Brad Biggs lets us know that the Bears are ready to throw money at one of the most important positions this offseason. We're going to discuss that and what it seems like the Bears are ready to do in the draft. We're going to talk about all that, plus dive a little bit into the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And yeah, man. We are in the midst of the draft combine, which players have already shined, and we got some voicemails on that. 40 times are going crazy. Offensive linemen are running 4.9 40s and things like that. It's always fun to watch the NFL draft combine just for like the conversation around it more than anything else. But it also signifies that, hey, we're gearing up. The offseason is in full go. With that said, free agency's around the corner, opening up. March has already started. It's March 3rd. So that means things are going to start going here really, really, really quick when it comes down to it. Now, one of the things with the Chicago Bears that, of course, with us hiring a new coach in Ben Johnson, the thought process behind it, right? And Ryan Poles talked a little bit in regards to the relationship with Ben Johnson and his plan for Caleb Williams, saying this. It starts with building that relationship and trust and talking to Ben. He's going to bring Williams all the way down to the ground floor and build him up the right way. I think through the process, we'll probably skip some steps in his development, some of those critical things. You can't really go step 2 before you finish step 1, and that takes some time. Bringing them on the ground floor and building them back up is going to be critical. They're going to be very honest with each other in terms of what needs to happen to get him to that next step. I'm looking forward to it. We're talking about skipping steps with Caleb Williams. Now, I do, at the time, especially in the offseason, I like the fact that Shane Waldron said, listen, we're turning the whole playbook over to Caleb Williams. We're not tiptoeing into the playbook. We're giving him the full playbook. Things like that. And, with the way that Caleb Williams is as a quarterback, with the way he processes defense, can manipulate the pocket, that made sense. And not to say that the Bulls are going to run some Bears bones offense or part of the offensive playbook to start the season, but I think it's putting in that work to really kind of instill a new groundwork, right? Luckily, Caleb didn't have 2 or whatever seasons under Matt Eberflus, something like that. It was 1 season with Shane Waldron, even though it was partial season with Matt Eberflus. Now you can bring in your head coach that you trust is going to be able to develop Caleb in the way that he needs to be and get him to that second floor or whatever it is to step 2. And that's what's going to be the important part of the process watching this with the Bears this season, right? Is how quickly the Bears go through this. What are you instilling in Caleb Williams? How are you building up off the things that he did well, right? We saw a little bit of that with Thomas Brown. I think when Thomas Brown was the offensive coordinator before he got promoted to interim head coach, we started seeing a play calling that was kind of more built around what Caleb did well. Not trying to force too many things, not trying to force him into a system. Ben Johnson's much better at just creating that system around players' strengths. And so, of course, you want to see that chemistry build with Caleb and DJ, Caleb and Rome, right? The backfield and things like that that's going to be there. So all those things make a lot of sense, right? And we'll see what the future is going to hold for the Bears. But one of the things that everybody understands that this Bears team has to do first and foremost is they got to build up that offensive line. We heard from Jeremy Fowler from ESPN. He said this: the sense is Chicago will sign at least one interior offensive lineman. Drew Dahlman from the 49ers, Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks from the 49ers, Drew Dahlman from Atlanta Falcons. And then Colts Will Fries are going to be players on the radar. Like Dahlman, Banks, and Fries are in line for sizable contracts. Guards dominated free agency last year and will do once again. So here's the thing. We talked a little bit about this on yesterday's live stream with me, C-Dub, and Bobby in regards to, can the Bears get 2 of those guys? Like I think there's a world, and depending on how much the Bears want to spend, that if you look at what the projected, and it's not always right, if you look at the projected, contracts that all three of those guys are, slated to sign. That's about 36-ish million dollars, right? And so that is what only 10 million more than the 25 million reportedly that Trey Smith was going to garner out in the free agent market. So really depends on how the Bears can negotiate with these guys, how much is going to. But I think if you can get Drew Dahlman in here, right, at center, I want a veteran center here. You can get Will Fries. You can get Aaron Banks in here, right? Mekhi Becton's still another guy that's definitely there. Some Bears fans actually prefer Mekhi Becton over a guy like Will Fries, which I think is on the minority, but I did see some of those comments. But overall, it seems like the Bears are willing and ready to spend in free agency. And that's the thing, right? You got to be willing to throw money, especially when you want veterans here. And so I think that, the interior offensive line is where the Bears are going to focus a lot of their money. I think based off who they can get there is going to inform what they do in some other places. But, the Bears being willing and ready to spend heavily and invest heavily into that offensive line, that's what we need to see. You got to make the right signings. And, and when it comes down to it, we're still going to, process and get some guys from the draft as well. But investing heavily in that offensive line, it just makes sense for where the Bears are. That's where you need to invest so much of your money. And if you invest a lot of that in free agency, it can free you up to do something like a Genty with the first round pick or a defensive end, right? Or even Mbao is a guy who I like. You look at, you talk about draft combine numbers. Armand Mbao, a guy that I talked about that, somebody wanted to argue with me that if he could be a starter or not at the NFL level. I'm telling y'all what, right now, he'd be a great get for the Chicago Bears at that tackle position. But we'll leave that for a conversation for another day. The Bears being ready to spend that money, that's what we need. And normally I would ask some questions on if the Bears are going to be able or we're going to be willing to spend the amount of money that's going to take to get at least two of those guys. But I think we've already seen a change. The Bears making Ben Johnson the offer that they did, investing as much in the coaching staff as what they are. It seems like the winds of change are rolling through Chicago. Now we got to see if that's going to result in more wins. Of course, that's what we want. But listen, the Bears in a position with the $80 million in cap space, right? The Bears in a position right now. You can add Dahlman and you can add Banks, Fries. And if you want to get really fancy, you could try to add all three of them. Now, I doubt that that's going to happen. I'm just not trying to set that expectation, but there's a world in which maybe it can. And is that the best thing for the Bears, right? That's the question that holds there. We'll see what the future does have there for the Chicago Bears. But an investment in the offensive line isn't an investment in Caleb Williams. And that's the way that I look at it. It's investment in the offense as a whole, right? But of course, outside of just free agency, you also have to invest draft assets in regards to improving your team as well. And Brad Biggs came out and talked about the priorities for the Chicago Bears in the draft, reportedly, per what he's heard. He said this: it's got to be O-line. It has to start there. They got two wide receivers. They got to get the run game going. They're going to draft a running back to complement DeAndre Swift, and they've got to fix the O-line. They've got to run the hell out of the ball, play action, and then get into Ben Johnson's stuff. They get into the run game going. They've got to get the run game going. That's what Detroit's secret sauce. They had David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the run game was really good. Ben does a really nice job with protections and getting them answers. It'll be a vast improvement. If they're going to achieve Ben's vision, how the offensive was in Detroit, they've got to add a physical aspect and component that's been missing in Chicago. You're asking about the quarterback, but the Bears didn't have an identity, and they need to fix that O-line if they want to make anything work. So it seems like the Bears right now, between the draft and the free agency, O-line is the priority, right? But I do love the fact that it's also said in that as well that, hey, NFL execs also expect the Bears to draft a running back. I think these are things that we're hearing, right? And so, you've had Bears fans that have gotten into conversations and arguments with each other, running back, O-line, running back. And the fact is that the Bears better goddamn well address both. And that's what the thought process going into this offseason is going to be about. How much of this can the Bears address? Free agency is going to be a key thing there, right? Hearing that the Bears are going to draft a running back shouldn't be a surprise anymore. Now, where they draft that running back at, we'll get into that. We got a great voicemail on that we'll get into that bag in a little bit. But the O-line is the thing. Everybody's on the same page with the Bears being the O-line. And we'll see what the Bears do in that. And, I think as well, like as much as we're talking about trading back and things like that, there's also an aspect of this where the Bears actually trade up in this draft to go and get their running back. Now, is that going to end up working for them? We'll see, right? I mean, not their running back, their offensive lineman. You look at a guy like Will Campbell, who had his top 30 meeting with the Chicago Bears, right? And he said this: it went well. Great staff, new coach, know what he's all about. It was a great meeting. And the top 30 visits aren't always like the thing, the end all be all, and who's the Bears are going to absolutely draft, but it does give an inclination on where their thought processes are, right? And so the O-line is definitely something that's going to be addressed. And I think depending on Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, those guys and where they are, if they fall, I'd say this, right? And this is speculative. This is not 100% fact, so please don't take it as that, right? But I am saying this. If Will Campbell somehow falls outside of the top 6, look for the Chicago, and I doubt that's going to happen. There's almost no chance of that happening. If it does, though, look for the Bears to potentially try to trade up to get him. I would not doubt that if they do that at all. That would be my personal estimation on that. I think there's an absolute possibility for that, and we'll see what the future does hold for this Bears team. But overall, I'm liking what we're hearing. I'm liking what we're seeing right now. The draft combine gave a lot of room for excitement as well. We just got to see how this Bears team is going to build off of that going forward and where we're going to wind up on that. So good things are happening right now in Chicago as much as they can during draft combine times, or see what the future does hold. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. When you look at it, are you like, as far as running backs, things like that, who are some of your favorite guys, other positions that you think the Chicago Bears could draft? You know me, I'm on the safety tip of this draft. So, let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, we do got 3 voicemails to clear up from the mailbag from over the weekend. Let's go ahead and get into those. This one's from Chris Evans.
Hey, CBC, what's going on, man? It's Chris Evans back again. So, Hayes, I got another scenario for you. You do mock drafts, I do mock scenarios. So, I got another mock scenario for you. If the Bears get one offensive lineman, let's say they get one offensive tackle in free agency, right? So, if they get one offensive tackle in free agency, I'm going to predict that number 10 we go offensive guard. Then the first, second round pick will get a defensive end. The second round pick will get our running back. And then for the third round, hear me out. And you're probably going to think, dude, Chris, why are you trying to get rid of Tyler Scott? Because I believe Tyler Scott has a lot of potential. I believe he had bad coaching, and I believe his playing time was limited. However, I don't think he's going to be good in a Bears uniform. We don't have the time. We don't even have the experience to teach him, so we have to trade him. We got to trade people that have value. So on the third round pick, we'll trade our third round pick and Tyler Scott to the Giants, right, for a 5th rounder pick of theirs for 2026. And let's get Darius Slayton. Let's get Darius Slayton, bro. 28, 4, 700-yard seasons. Last year he had a small dip. He's about 570, and he's 28. So he'll be around, I think he might be a little older than DJ Moore, but still under 30, still has experience. And I think he'll be a solid wide receiver 3 for us. And we'll get an extra pick next year. It's not glamorous, but 5th round pick. And if you're not going to use the pick, you can always deal it away. And I think the Giants is a good trade partner because they have no pieces, no quarterback, no offensive line. I can't name one defensive back on the defense. Terrible. But they have David Singletary, he's okay. But they also have Malik Neighbors. And I think they're going to get rid of some assets to get a quarterback in this draft for the next. So let me know what you think on that. Trade Tyler Scott in the 3rd round pick to the Giants to get a 5th rounder in 2026 and Darius Slayton. Chicago up there now.
Well, it seems like the Bears are going to be targeting the interior offensive line in free agency, so it doesn't look like it's going to be the tackles. It seems like it's going to be the center and the guards. That's what they're going to focus on in free agency. So, I get what you're coming up with this scenario, and I'm not saying that your scenarios are crazy or anything like that. I just think that we're going to probably see a lot less of like the trades and as far as things like that. The Bears trading picks and Scott with picks to get a fit. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the Bears are going to stay pretty much at board with this one. I think the Bears are going to go through. They're going to sign their offensive lineman right in the free agency. I think we're probably going to get either a veteran running back or a veteran D end in that, because that could inform what they do in the draft. And I do think that, you could get a veteran wide receiver and to be your 3rd wideout, or you can go out there and get one later in this draft. There's some talented wideouts in this draft as well. I just don't think you're going to probably see the willing and dealing as far as Tyler Scott. For you to say that we don't have time for Scott, what we have is time, right? Especially if he's worth the investment. Now, that comes down to what Ben Johnson and the staff, how they see Tyler Scott. I'm not going to say that they necessarily see somebody that's some great future asset. We'll see what happens there. But to say that we don't have time for Scott, I actually think that's pretty wrong. The Bears aren't trying to rush this. right? They're trying to get through it organically, but they're not at a point where they're trying to just send off anything to just get it done right now. I don't think that's personally where the Bears are. Could I be wrong about that? Absolutely. Will I be wrong? I guess we'll remain to be seen if I am or not. I could very well be. It's not one of those things where I'm going to be like, I'm absolutely right on this. The Bears aren't going to But I don't agree with the fact that the Bears don't have time. I think what they do have is time, because you want that, and you don't want to jumpstart anything like we tried to do last year. Like, we should have probably invested that pick that we used to trade for Keenan Allen in that offensive line. So, we'll see what the future does hold there, Chris. Great voicemail. Thank you for calling in, as always. Let's get into the next one, man. This one's from the 773.
Hey, I'd like to first just say thank you, Chicago Bears Central. I just wanted to say one thing. Thank you, Hayes, for making that statement that we shouldn't expect a Super Bowl contender right now. The reality is, taking the North and keeping it, that's a process. And all the teams in this division have that same goal, to take the North and keep it. So, and they already developed. So, we want to make sure that we just keep a level head and look for improvement and not just, a Super Bowl ring right now. See, we see the advancement, and keep in mind that it's still in polls we trust, because if we want to use organizational integrity, in other words, we all going to win together. Everybody stands together. And so y'all doing a great job during this off season, and I want to say keep up the good work, and stay positive and stay realistic. We don't want to start doing the Super Bowl shuffle too soon. Thank you.
Taking the North is a process. Absolutely. Truer words have not been spoken, my brother. It's going to take some time, right? And, the Bears could very well compete for a wild card spot this year. We don't know yet. We don't even know where most of the roster is going to be. So, let's wait and go through this. But yeah, it's going to be a process. I get it. Everybody wants it now. Hell, we deserve it now, right? The Bears fan base has been through some shit, but it's going to take some time. And there's some beauty in going through the process and going through it the right way and seeing these players develop and get their chemistry together. But make no mistake about it, we want wins. We want to be one of those teams like last year with a first or second year quarterback that's going on playoff runs, right? We want to be that team, right? And I think the way that you get there is important, but it is a process. Taking the North is going to be difficult. It's one of the deepest divisions in the game of football, period, right? And so because of that, it's going to take some time. I know other teams around the division have gotten weaker. Yeah, you can't deny that, right? But you still got plenty left in the tank as well there. So it's gonna be a process. We got the coach now, though, and it seems like the alignment with the front office as well, that you can trust in what they're going to do. And let's see, I'm not as far as blindly as in the Ryan Poles we trust as it was before, but I think Poles could do a lot for the good faith in fixing this offensive line this offseason. This is an important offseason for Poles. It's an important offseason for the Bears, and we'll see where we can be after it, right? All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one's from Keys.
Yo. Good morning, fellas. It's your boy Keys, man. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday morning. Heading to church. I'll be saying prayers for y'all. But let's get to it, man. Hey, been watching this NFL Combine, and let me tell you, man, it's some guys with some speed. Oh, my God. I've never seen, in my years of watching this since I was in high school to now, I've never seen so many 4.4s and then so many running backs that's like in shape and everything across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really good to see, man. Like this draft class. Now, not everyone gonna hit, but this draft class of running backs, oh my God. Specifically, and I looked at the Bears, right? I'm like, I know it's a focal point where we want to get better in that position and we need some home run hitters. It wouldn't upset me. For sure we need one, but definitely two. And the two that stood out to me the most, I know everybody gonna say Amarion Hampton. But when I watch the drills, I watch feet, and I watch how them guys ran their 40s, and they both two dynamic backs, and they my two favorite backs of the draft. Hayes, the first one you already know, Quinshawn Judkins. He did everything I expected him to do yesterday in them drills. Everything clarified for me like, hey, he's a bigger David Montgomery with a little bit more. And then you think about the other guy. Matter of fact, he's my like underrated favorite draft pick of the draft. DJ Giddens, man. Everything about him. 6 foot 212, silky smooth. He reminds me of that Le'Veon Bell, Matt Forte patient running back, but he got speed and he got size. And he ran a 4.43, and his drills were smooth too. And I just love both of their games. So if we could get both of them in some way, some form, some capacity, that would make my draft. Then another guy who I felt, and I went back and I did some research on him, Jalen Royals from Utah State. Not only do he got good hands, he's a JUCO product like myself. And, you know, he played really good his 2 years at Utah State. Now, he may not have the most gaudiest numbers, but the boy ran a 4.43. And it wouldn't hurt to put him in the slot as a third receiver. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm just waiting to see this O-line. Yeah, man, I'm ready to see what these guys bring to the table today. But let me know what you guys think. As always, Chi-Town up, bear down.
The running back draft class is great. And that's why, you know, as much as people talk about Genty, and Genty's a talent, make no mistake about it, I love the comp that you made with Quashon Judkins and David Montgomery. He is a big David Montgomery. He has the chance to have that type of impact. I love Quashon, not just because of the school that he went to. I just love Quashon Judkins because of the way he plays the game of football. I think it's a nice compliment. Hearing what we heard earlier, that the Bears will draft a running back to complement DeAndre Swift. You look at compliments to DeAndre Swift, Quashon Judkins can bring that. He makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. Will he be the pick? No, he's not the only one. Hampton is a great option as well. DJ Giddens as well, as you mentioned. There are a lot of really good running back prospects in this draft for the Chicago Bears. That's why I do think that the Bears going running back in this draft makes sense. No matter what level, what pick that they do it at, they can get a running back in here that can be a starter, shared backfield guy right away for your team, and you want that running game with Caleb Williams in there. So I think those all things are all good. They're all going in the right direction. We just got to see what the Chicago Bears are going to do with it. But overall, going to be a fun offseason. As I said, the Bears are going to get a lot of what they want, what they need, more importantly than just what they want. But you guys can let me know how you feel. As always, down below, make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. But that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.